smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Steven and Rob without a doubt got the game all figured out. They know it all.
They know it all. And they're back again. Rob and Steven here after episode 7. Steven, how are you?
Rob, this is the craziest thing. I just got this like 20 minutes ago in my office. Someone came and handed me this paper, and it's safety without podcasting. So I'm gonna be leaving.
No, you can leave now.
Sorry, Rob.
No,
Sorry.
come back. Come back.
You're on your own.
Okay. This is
No, I was just kidding, Rob. I'm here.
Trick or treat.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I
Okay.
meant to do today in costume. Shoot, I meant today to do stay in costume. I forgot.
Yes. Okay. All right.
What's your costume for Halloween? Happy
No,
Halloween.
I put there's something a little orange in it. I didn't do a costume.
No, but I mean, like tonight, are you going trick or treating with the family?
Yeah, we're gonna go trick or treating.
What do you?
Yeah, trick or treating here. Yeah, and this is like a regional thing. Like when I was a kid in New York, used to go trick or treating after school. Different parts of the country, no, you go trick or treating on a different day, different time. Yeah, so no trick or treating here until after 6 o'clock.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, we're going about that time, 5:30.
Yeah, so
What's the
nice
family
day
doing
here.
at? Do you guys have a?
We've got a Iron Man. We've got a Wolverine. My son wanted to be Deadpool. We said that's a little. You can't be Deadpool.
Why?
Deadpool is a little R-rated.
Oh, okay. But like he wouldn't be R-rated playing Deadpool.
Yeah, but I think that's not inappropriate.
Okay.
You know. And then Nicole and I are going to be some Price is Right contestants.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like you. I don't want face paint. I don't want like a wig or anything like that. So I said, okay, keep it simple. Keep it simple.
I love to go. I actually used to go, but decent.
Yeah.
We're going as the Paw Patrol.
Oh, who are you?
Yeah, well, so I'm going to be Chase.
Oh, you're on the case.
Yeah, I'm on the case. Margot, my older daughter, is Sky.
Yeah.
And my younger daughter, Prue, will be Marshall.
Avalanche?
Marshall.
Oh, Marshall.
No,
Okay.
Avalanche. It's like extended.
Well, you know, the Paw Patrol, they don't do a great job with very, very inclusive of a lot of the female dogs. And I'm not going to say that. This is a 2 o'clock podcast. I'm not going to call them what, you know, I've heard them described as.
It's true that the two like add-ons are Liberty and Avalanche. But
I didn't even know about Liberty. Liberty is another add-on since my kids were young.
Yeah. No, she's like a big city dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then and my wife will be Ryder, the leader of the team.
Ryder. Okay.
Mostly
so we're really
like,
very gender bending all over the place.
Well, we hadn't really. It was hard to find adult costumes for the Paw Patrol. You know, there's only like 2. There's like Chase and there's like Sky, but my daughter was already Sky, so counting.
No Rubble.
They don't have an adult Rubble. We would have done the adult Rubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think my wife was happy that she just has to wear a vest. She wears a vest and she's like, I'm Ryder. That's it.
Okay. All right. So we talked about the civic servant dogs. So cross that off the list. And then a lot more. Shout out to my dogs at the crib. Yeah. Oh. And we got a lot more to break down here today. Hard-hitting analysis coming to you from the Survivor Know-It-Alls, where last night, Stephen, we saw the tribes divided once again. I think this is so interesting. This is 3 episodes in a row that we get everybody together in a group, and then we say, okay, now split up. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode every week. All right, hey, I got an idea. Let's split up again.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying, I have to say. And we'll talk more about the whole like twists versus twists.
Yeah,
as the show goes on. But I will say, like, the start of the episode made it so compelling to see people kind of like assembling their groups. Like Andy approaches Saul and he brings in Genevieve. And then you also have like the women talking about like the possibility of women's alliance. At this feels a little bit like a tease. Like
it's
every
the delicate
season,
dance
like,
it's where that we're flirting with the merge. It's like we're gonna tease you with it, but not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And then you're like, okay, I can't wait to see these tribal dynamics play out. Like everyone's kind of like getting their like which like network of connections is gonna win the day. And then it turns out to just be this sort of like randomness upon randomness.
Yeah.
Teeny referred to eating the men as part of her strategy. And I wanted to know, are they learning their strategy from Marianne Oketch?
Oh, okay. That was not what I thought you were going to say. And perhaps she famously has eaten you when she fills in for you on the podcast. But just to reset, had a interview with Tiana earlier today. You could check that out as well. And I had a great recap of the episode with Katora as well. She was very fun after the episode last night. We had a lot of good talk about this. She has lived through this split tribal council twist in the new era, so she had some good insight about that. But Stephen, I guess let me start with, you had a semi-viral tweet.
Oh, which one?
Yes. Okay. Wow. What a humble brag. Okay. So this tweet you posted, and I was interested to see because I looked at it.
Follow the metrics, Rob. I'm just putting the pure.
Well,
stuff
you had over 100 comments on a tweet, whereas like I thought I had a great tweet last night.
And you did great. You're always getting like lots of retweets. You know about the Big
not
Brother.
A lot of comments like I like, but I guess you opened up a discussion, and so this was the tweet, the question you asked. Was last night's Survivor a thrilling example of how the game's twists can have heartbreaking payoff, or yet more proof that modern Survivor's advantage-heavy randomness saps the strategic essence of the series? Please sound off so I can steal your ideas for the know-it-alls. Now, you did not do a good job stealing the ideas. Because,
not yet. I haven't had a chance. You're calling me out before I can steal people's ideas.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is a good place to start our discussion about the twists and how they affected things. Because I guess I'll open the discussion of that. I thought that it was so poetic and kind of beautiful. Like, yes, you could say that Tiana got split screwed, but I mean, it would have been a travesty if Rachel went home in this episode. With all due respect to Tiana, who seems like a wonderful person, but this was a little bit. Akiva, I watched a spooky movie called Final Destination. Ooh. And this was a little bit like Tiana was on the ill-fated plane, and then she got to the merge and got off the plane. Yeah. And it was like, you can't cheat death. And Destiny caught up with Tiana. Yeah. She was probably going to be the next person voted out of Tuku. And somehow the Survivor gods conspired to give us this tribal council where the entire Tuku tribe has a pre-merge tribal. All these other tribes went to 2 tribal councils before the merge. Tuku ends up going to their second tribal council.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
but it comes after the merge.
Everything
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is a really good. And Final Destination's a great parallel to it. You know, like I thought that was really well said, Rob. That is interesting.
Yeah,
yeah. I did, and it's true. You know, Rachel would have been horrifically swap screwed by that twist. It would have been very frustrating. I don't like this at all. I mean, I was mad when Matt Blankenship got voted out in season 40. 44. Thank you. I can't. The numbers. I still can't. Jam season.
But it was Jam that survived.
That's right. But it was still a frustrating thing where he was in this, like, both of them, those guys were in these great positions in the game. You know, they had their sort of like networks of alliances. Nobody was targeting them. Then they just get this extremely unfortunate like roll of the dice, and like all of the stuff they had been working towards for the past, 3 days or however many days it's been in New Era Survivor is out the window, and they're just like screwed by the swap. So it was nice to see Rachel escape. And it is true that in this situation, Tiana was probably the one going home. I guess I didn't like the sense that like she couldn't do anything about it. Like she didn't have time to like work, and maybe that work would have led to nothing, right? But the fact that she had 5 minutes at tribal council instead of a day of actually knowing the stakes of the situation she was in, it just kind of felt like random and haphazard. Like, why do this when all we as the fandom want to see are those 12 players like working against each other and together with each other to assemble their alliances? Like, why do this?
And on the other hand, yes, okay, go ahead.
It was very compelling. Like it was like really tense, compelling television.
I didn't really have so much of a issue with this. I mean, I do feel like that we could get into a philosophical discussion of is this what Survivor should be? But, Jeff talked about on the On Fire podcast about how they really do love this idea of the random draw and how, you could be feeling like you've got everything set up and circumstances could break a way where you ultimately put into a bad position. Now, for Tiana, I feel like
why is that good? Is that the positive for Jeff? Like, to me, that seems like exactly the things you should be avoiding.
But that there were like a lot of, it wasn't like, okay, everybody stick your hand in a bag. Tiana pulled out a rock and then she went home. I think that, there had been 14, 15 days of gameplay leading up to this point. And Tiana made mistakes along the way. And I'm sure David Bloomberg will chronicle them all this weekend with Jessica Lewis. But leading up to this point, I think that there were a lot of outs for Tiana in terms of like things that could have happened before that time, and even including like winning the immunity challenge or having more allies in her. This was like, had Rachel been in this spot, like what is Rachel supposed to do? She doesn't even know these people. But Tiana had been in the game for 2 weeks with these people, and there was nothing that she could do potentially to crack this alliance. But it wasn't like that these were strangers.
But she did the thing she needed to do, which was survive to the merge, right? Like in classically Survivor, like, hey, I made it to the merge. Now I like whatever damage I've done on my original tribe. Now I can make new groups and new alliances. And like the fact that you're just like stunted back randomly
didn't make enough of an impression on Saul that there was this Deus Ex Machina element where that, had she been able to impress upon Saul that I was going to be the person that like really help me out, send me home. If she had accurately read her position correctly at Tuku, then I think she could have let Saul know, hey, I'm at the bottom here, and Saul would have seen, if I send out Rachel, my friend Tiana is going to go home.
Because Tiana should have known that, her fate in the game would be determined by this like random twist. And then this advantage is going to be in the game that nobody's ever seen before. Like, why did Tiana not play it, but like plan for that? Like,
Steven,
so stupid.
Somebody has to go home. It wasn't a great, thing for Tiana, but it wasn't like a travesty of justice.
The thing I don't like the most, I mean, first of all, like, just generally, I don't like the split tribes. We all want
at least only one person went out.
Yeah, true. But we want to see the dynamics play out, and like the dynamics are really interesting, and they're showing us they're interesting. I want to see that play out. I did enjoy the episode, so like I can't like I wasn't like bored. I was like moved by what happened to Tiana. Like I had an emotional reaction. So in that respect, like I felt like it enriched my life in the sense that like intense emotional reactions, are a great enriching part of our human experience. But there was like, it wasn't like Rachel got the advantage. It was like this thing that like fell out of the sky. Like Deus Ex Machina is exactly what you said. It was this thing that nobody had seen before. That's like literally like Saul picks up because it's an urn right next to him on reward. He gives it to like the one person he reasonably going to give it to. I mean, he's not going to even give this, like, of course he's going to give it to the one person. There wasn't that much decision making. It's not like he had some like mastermind
Is this going to be good or bad for Saul? We have no idea. Saul has no idea. He was like, this will be fun.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense. You want them to turn on each other in this like heightened moment. Like that's a good move generally. So he made the right choice, but it wasn't like a tricky choice. I felt like Heidi had more like, when she kind of was in the, and the fact that Saul got to do it secretly, which was obviously very fun television. But it was like this like superpower that like Rachel got out of nowhere. If Rachel had played an idol, like, which is something that the players know about, or even the shot in the dark that they know about, and then suddenly they have to scramble. It's like, okay, like I came into this situation with information that I could prepare for to make an informed decision. Like some like magic arrow being shot from out of the sky and like piercing Tiana in the heart. Like that's not something you can prepare for.
But I don't think that's what happened. She sort of like she dodged a bullet that she thought she got to the merge. It's like, okay, good. And honestly, I don't think she ever was accurately aware of what her position was at Tuku. She sort of dodged a bullet in the fact that they, have this merge earlier in the game in the, in the new era. So she sort of like, she got lucky there and she got unlucky here. I mean, I believe it was Jerry Manthe who said, whoever said Survivor is fair. And it's not. and people get bad breaks. And I think you have to just be able to, okay, I've got dealt a very bad hand here, and I do not, have the positioning to recover from this.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think I was more annoyed when Matt Blankenship went out because it seemed like he was in a really good
a better spot.
And like it just felt like there's like random unfair thing happened to him, and like he didn't. I mean, with him there was also the whole thing where he didn't even have his bag, and so he couldn't like play his.
He didn't have his bag, and he had a very public relationship with Franny that people want to break up.
But that you can blame him for. But like some of the other stuff where it felt like a little more random was not his fault. But like that's just in general, and we're still like arguing the same central argument, right? Which is that like Survivor at its inception was this game where you kind of could make plans and you could try to play what Kim Spradlin called like a beautiful strategic game. I don't know if she said that in like in the show or like in an exit, but like it's something that really resonated.
A letter to you. Yeah.
So no, she was talking about how she wanted to play like a beautiful strategic game, and that's just not what it is anymore, right? There's a lot more randomness, and like it's just like obviously there's a balance. The randomness does add drama, but it would have been nice to have like the drama of these actual strategic relationships pay off just once.
Yeah, I mean, what relationship did you want to see pay off?
Just what was all these things that were happening? Like could the Women's Alliance like pull it out after many seasons of talk of a Women's Alliance?
It still may,
right? But like they're down one woman, it's a little bit harder. And they are, and obviously like they've just saw Caroline and Sue side with Gabe over Tiana. So I don't know, like, or like what's gonna happen with Andy and so on. And again, like I'm sure that will go
to do with that.
No, I know, but like these were the dynamics that were like being assembled, and you kind of want to see them play out.
Yeah, with all due respect to Tiana, she did not seem as though, and again, we're watching an edited show, she did not seem like that she was like a major player in what was going on. She seemed like that she was sort of like the fifth wheel of Tuku, who was sort of at the bottom of that alliance. Didn't really realize that could have been a factor, had the Women's Alliance taken root. I just don't know if Caroline and Sue are ever going to be on board for this Women's Alliance as long as they still have Gabe as an ally, and why they would necessarily like give up that position. We saw in Survivor 45 that there was talk of a Women's Alliance, but it was like for Dee and for Julie, they were never so high on doing the Women's Alliance because they had a good thing going with Austin and Drew.
Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate about Tiana's position in the game, like, yes, we didn't see her having a great position in the game, but also she was the last pre-juror. She went out in this sort of like random thing. Like we were never going to see all like her whole strategic web because of this random way she went out. So there's sort of like an ex post facto element to it where if Tiana made it far, we'd know more about her. Like, did we not see Tiana's strategic game because it wasn't there? Or did we not see Tiana's strategic game because she went out in a sort of random haphazard thing?
Yeah. And the part that we did see was a lot of her trying to throw Gabe under the bus in like very like public demonstrative ways, which all like got back to Gabe. So it wasn't, I don't feel like that she was on the right path to begin with.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I agree with you. And I like your, the fact that it was the Tuku group altogether kind of makes it feel less bad. If there was another random person who had gotten swap screwed, like, the thing that bothered me the most was the fact that they couldn't really play out the strategy of it, with full information. They couldn't have this 5-person, tete-a-tete. But the fact was that had been played out. Like, and that's what Gabe said. Like, think about, this is basically, we're in a pre-merge tribal council. Like, think about our relationships and our plans then. And that's probably about how it played out. So it was like, to your point, like it did matter, like what had happened. And it wasn't just a kind of like random thing in the way that where Jam Jam and Matt felt like, oh, these two guys are just screwed randomly. Like Tiana's game up to that point did end up being decisive in her ouster. So like, I'm arguing aggressively against it, but partially because you're arguing for it. And I mean, no, but I mean, like, I think it's interesting to like hear both sides like expressed.
Yeah.
I did not have as big, like in the moment I was like, wow, this is like crazy. And I'm so engaged, and oh no, this like heartbreaking moment for Tiana. And then after the fact, when I saw some of the fan, like the really negative fan reaction to it, I was like, yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah. And it was heartbreaking for Tiana that, she really was, very emotional about it. I can totally understand why. And it was such a betrayal for her because, and we saw that But she did not see where, that she was kind of being strung along from the TK vote that there was this women's alliance and that she was part of it and the women were working together and Gabe was at the bottom. And then so to have that whole rug pulled out from under her, this wasn't just a one-day thing. This is, she was being, fed a lot of misinformation for probably 10 or 11 days in the game.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. And it was interesting that she was ready to turn on Gabe. She was not immediately going to sacrifice Rachel. And Caroline made some Caroline made some great points, to her about, we it's now's etc.
Yes. Okay. How about this? I'll flip it around. Okay. I'll give you my biggest complaint about the episode last night. Okay. I thought that the entire first, there were like 2 acts in the tribal council. There was the pre-Rachel leaving and then post-Rachel leaving. The pre-Rachel tribal council was just like one big whole song and dance for nothing.
Yeah.
Like we didn't need any of that. And I do wonder, and there's 2 reasons. One, we, the audience, we know that, probably something is going to happen. The advantage is going to come. I like that they didn't show us where the advantage was going to go. I thought that was a very fun way to do it. But it got me thinking about pre-merge tribal councils versus tribal councils with a jury. And you and I have been very positive on the tribal councils this season. Are we more likely to get some juice in a tribal council that doesn't have people watching it than opposed to a tribal council that has an audience where it's like very performative now?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a very good point. Everyone is now sort of like jockeying to like show their position in the jury, but they don't want to be too abrasive.
And they don't want to say like, hey, we got to keep our numbers. We got to say, sorry, Rachel, we got to be too strong. It's like they've got it they're spinning for an audience of the whole rest of the tribe of what they're planning on doing tonight. Of like, well, we want to keep our numbers, but we don't really want to keep our numbers. So, Rachel's really got a shot here tonight because they don't want to say like, we don't want to be seen as 5. So it was like a lot of like double speak. And it just got me thinking, like, are pre-merge tribal councils better than post-merge tribal councils?
That's interesting. I mean, you mean in terms of like the banter, in terms of the like,
are we more likely to get honest answers from players in the pre-merge than post-merge tribal councils?
That's very interesting. And in post-merge, to your point, like with a bigger tribe, like there's a lot more, there's obviously the audience of the jury, but then there's also the audience of like the rest of the tribe who like you can't really out your alliance to.
And I don't have any evidence to support this theory either way, but I just think that we're more likely to like hear honesty at a pre-merge tribal council.
Yeah. That's a good point. We'll find out. Let's keep a sharp eye on that.
Keep tabs on that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Caroline because I thought that Caroline had a very good night.
Yeah. I thought she played really exceptionally, fishy for Caroline. Let's lead with that. She, first of all, when Tiana initially came to her about voting out Gabe, she managed to convince Tiana that it was the wrong choice, right? Yet using Tiana's logic of, hey, if there's 5 of us going into the merge together, like we are going to be a big target, but if we turn on each other, that will be seen as like a weak or too cool alliance. Caroline made the argument that yes, but they're not going to be coming after us. Like we are not going to be the top of that pecking order, and we have some insulation with Gabe and Kyle. And then, so I think she was able to kind of like keep everybody happy. And then when it was time to make a choice, I think she made the tough, but obviously correct decision and seemed to be the one, obviously it's hard to know exactly what convinced Kyle, but I got the sense that she was the one who convinced Kyle, right? Like Kyle was one who came to her. It's like, we, said, Tiana's been totally upfront with us and leaving that conversation, which we never saw the result of, like then Kyle ends up voting for Tiana as well.
I thought Kyle did a good job of not being. He was definitely closer with Tiana, and he did a good job of not writing Gabe's name down just out of like loyalty to the person who was going out of the game. So I thought he did a good job with that. I had wondered this, Stephen, and this is where I do tend to get myself into trouble in my analysis. That do you think any of Caroline's decision at Tribal Council was theater for the people who were sitting there watching this Tribal Council?
Right. She wanted to show I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, she seemed to be, based on my, totally amateur and, read of 30 seconds of footage, right? Less than 30 seconds of footage. She seemed like legitimately upset. I mean, I think that had to be really hard. I mean, you get Tiana weeping there, you know, saying over and over again, like, please don't.
But strategically, isn't this an easy decision? Like, she was never voting out Gabe in that spot, right?
Yeah, I don't know though, because again, it's like this ex post facto element where like we have been told this story of Sue, Caroline, and Gabe as a trio because like maybe because they're the trio that emerges from this, you know, I mean, and we haven't seen what, you know, Caroline's heart is. I'm sure she also feels some connection to Tiana. I mean, she was the person that Tiana went to, right, with this plan, you know, and it's like every alliance on Survivor is sort of like a network of like vibes and valences, you know, where it's not like so concrete. And I'm sure for Caroline, like Tiana was one of her options and one of her, you know, paths forward. And then to like sever that is obviously difficult, especially when you know the person behind it.
I loved what you said about big smart moves. It was very like Sophie-esque. If Caroline goes on to win the season, put that in her winner montage. Not that we do that anymore, but the idea of big smart moves is, you know, something that, you know, we talk about a lot. Steven, is there a strategy in getting other folks to make big dumb moves?
Yeah, maybe so, but I don't know. As a player who likes control, like I would not want people making big anything moves. You know, you want people making like very rational, very like straightforward moves according to their obvious self-interest, not being like not wanting to blow up the game for their resume, not voting out their best friend, you know, just play smart so that I can like play slightly smarter.
Yeah.
This is interesting in the chat. Kendall says, should Kyle have still voted Gabe? Because then there's sort of like suggests some dissension in the group.
That's interesting. I just don't think that Kyle is like, I think that's one level beyond like where Kyle is playing the game of like, unless like somebody says, with all due respect to Kyle, like I think that he's sort of like, he's playing like a loyal game. I don't think that he's necessarily gonna like play the, I'm in your head of like, you think that I'm now turning on Gabe, but I'm really still with Gabe, but I'm gonna like throw the vote out there to make you think that I'm not actually doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but you know, Caroline,
it would be,
like, hey,
but I like the thought.
Yeah. You know, if he's like, let's vote out, you know, Gabe, she could have been like, yeah, vote Gabe.
Yeah.
That would have been a little bit. That's tricky even for her. Cause then like, he feels like he's been, you know, strung out. So yeah. Left out to dry.
What do you think about Kyle having won 2 individual immunities, but against the first one was only against a small field of only 7 people in the first immunity that he won, and then this one he came in 3rd in this challenge and wins immunity.
Yeah.
And is he getting a raw deal in that he is like being seen as like this big comp beast, but he's only beating out a couple people?
Yeah, I saw Dalton asking, you know, what's what is it, Genevieve and who? Teeny. Did they get credit for that?
No, I don't think they do. And I responded to Dalton's tweet that I actually thought that for Genevieve and Teeny, this is like a steal for them. They get the safety, they get the barbecue, and they don't have to wear the necklace of saying like, oh, comp beast.
Yeah. Are people? I mean, I guess you're right. I guess like that's sort of like there subtextually for the contestants. I feel like I would, as someone with eyes, I would be able to say like, okay, those 2 people did better than that one.
Yeah, but I don't know. They have a short memory. It's the kind of thing we'd have to ask the player in terms of like these like narratives take hold, and then there's nothing you can do to shake them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, especially with 2 in a row, you're right.
And Genevieve had just found the advantage where she was sort of like standing out and different than the group on the last one. And so to have that, and then, you know, for her to then be the person who wins this challenge, like I definitely think it could be a problem for Genevieve.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where the episode started and the thing that got you very excited about. Andy, he has that conversation with Saul. Now, I saw you taking a victory lap when you saw the sneak preview of that Saul coming to Andy to explain that. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So last week I said, you know, that it was really bad strategy for Sam to be so vocal with Saul about targeting, you know, casting another vote on Andy. a lot of people took umbrage with my perspective there. I think a lot of people were confusing the conversation in the shelter between Sam and Saul with the conversation at the Mergatory feast, where Sue throws out Andy's name and Sam kind of like co-signs it, and they're like, what could have Sam have said in that moment? And I was like, no, but I wasn't talking about that moment. There's multiple moments on the show. It's an hour and a half long show. There's not just one moment. So the moment that I had said was a mistake for Sam was in the shelter when Saul was like, well, I get, looks like it, they're coming, like, looks like Rome wants me. And then Sam is the one who's like, you've got to put another vote on Andy, and I thought that was a mistake to be so vocal about it there for Sam. And especially when he could have then like either said someone else's name or just not said anything, anything, because to him, if Saul goes home, that's better than if Andy goes home, at least from what we've seen, because Andy is an ally of his and a very loyal ally of his. So
I'll do devil's advocate on this, guys. I did watch that line back, and I thought it was interesting. I paid extra attention to it. So I think that Sam says basically like, hey, like, I think you should write down Andy's name, because he said to Saul, I'm more comfortable keeping you in the game than him, which I felt like that. Okay, sure. If that is face value, that's probably bad. But is Sam just blowing smoke that they're going to tell Saul anyway to write down Andy's name? Like, the die is already cast on that. Is Sam trying to, puff up his relationship with Saul to some degree to make Saul feeling really good about Sam moving forward out of this? Now, what Sam did not foresee was that Andy was going to feel some type of way about this and start asking Saul, what the hell, guys, about Saul, why did you write my name down? And then Saul would instantly give up Sam. But from Sam's perspective, is he trying to, does he maybe just trying to, foster this relationship with Saul?
Listen, if you're the devil's advocate, the devil needs new representation.
Oh,
like that. Because like, if your point is that Sam like didn't think, first, if Sam didn't know it was a bad idea to put out his close ally's name as the decoy boot or the second target, like, and therefore he should be excused. No, that's exactly what Sam did wrong. The thing you're saying that Sam didn't know, like, that's what he did wrong. Like, you should not put out your ally's name as not even the decoy target, but like the second target. Like, and that's my whole objection to what he did, which is that he, like, if Andy is there, which they have every reason to think is going to be the case, now Saul has receipts, and he has like, hey, these are the people. And of course, Andy's going to want to know, why was it my name? Who told you my name? And then of course, like, Saul is going to be able to say, it was Sam who told me your name. Like, Sam doesn't need to put himself in that position. He doesn't need to have that conversation with Saul. Like, he doesn't need to say Andy's name. He can say nothing. He can be like, oh, ask Sue. She had some interesting ideas. Like, he doesn't need to be the guy putting Andy's name forward so definitively. Because the decoy boot or the second target is always going to be like, why me? And Andy phrased it perfectly. He said, okay, I get, like, you didn't want to be the one sent home, but like, why my name of any other name? And that was exactly my point last week, which is like, why put Andy's name out there? Like, just because Sue said it, just because he was sort of like the known target, but like, you don't need to say anything, Sam. Like, you don't need to enter into that, relationship. Like, just be like, I don't know, Saul, what are you thinking? And so anyway, like this week,
don't write my name down.
Yeah. When Andy says like, hey, why did you put my name down? Saul does have that receipt where he goes, says like, hey, it was Sam. And, that resonates for Andy, because I do think, even if we've seen Sam repeatedly sort of like semi pull the wool over Andy's eyes, people have the vibe, and Andy's got the vibe that, something's not quite right with that relationship. And so when Saul says that, like, that feels true for Andy. And then Andy, you're more mad when your allies betray you than when your enemies target you. And so now Andy's got a reason to target the rest of
That's a good line. That's a good scribble that down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then Andy is now, okay, well, now I gotta go after my old tribe mates, and we see him writing in the sand. I don't know what he was necessarily counting. He's just like writing like an enemies list in the sand. He doesn't have a to-do list. He has an enemies list, okay, on day one of the merge. And he's writing down Sam's name, and we see Genevieve come into the picture. And this is so fun. And this is like, wish casting Genevieve Andy alliance, and this is very exciting. And we know that Genevieve is she likes working with some of these wild cards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She went in Rome was her previous number one.
Yeah. And so Genevieve and Andy end up having this interesting pairing. But Stephen, I think that's what's so interesting about this is that there's also the conversation that comes up later at the reward feast of the baby back ribs, of that there's this idea of, okay, yellow and red, Lavo and Gata, could we work together against Tuku? Now, that it just so happens that Andy and Genevieve would be part of this. So is there like this other like a sleeper cell inside of the yellow and red alliance that's going to be working to take out Sam?
My guess is they do end up more aggressively targeting Sam. I mean, what was interesting to me about that conversation was that they said, if Tuku doesn't vote each other out, like then this group can work together. Why not just say this group should work together? You know, it's like that Penner thing. You know, like why not just be like, this is the group.
Yeah,
we're working together. They're like, okay, if they don't target each other, like you don't need that conditional statement. Just say we're together.
Yeah. And so in some way, did Saul sort of like upset that by taking Rachel out? Because now Rachel comes back and all of a sudden now that the Gata, like, oh, we can't forget about, Sam and Sierra. Now they have Rachel back now.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, that was what I thought the rationale for Saul for not giving it to Rachel was going to be if he didn't give it to Rachel. It's probably more useful to him to have like a secret ally. What's the move for Saul here? Does he go to Rachel and say, I saved you? Or does he keep this in his pocket or, the elastic band of his underpants and say pull it out at final tribal council and say, hey, I did it, the Marianne approach, not telling anyone anything.
I think don't tell anybody is
not even Rachel.
I think that the time to tell people would have been like, hey, what should we do to affect this tribal council? But I think that the fact that now if people are mad about what happened, then if you go and tell Rachel that, hey, I saved you, it's like, oh, so what do I owe you one now? It's almost like that to tell a person you did a thing for them, it doesn't really buy you anything. I feel like that it's just one of these like messed up things about human beings where if you tell them like, hey, you didn't know this, I actually did something good for you. It's like, I feel like that they end up more annoyed with you than if you were able to dangle it to Rachel and say like, hey, if I I have this thing, I can help you. Oh my God, Saul, I love you. But if you tell them I already did the thing for you, they just end up annoyed with you.
It's like the French after World War II.
Mm-hmm. It's just like that.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
That was like always the cliche, right? And obviously that's not 100% true that like the French were resentful of Americans partially because of the American role in World War II. Anyway, I don't believe that, but that was the cliche. We're all resentful of each other for all kinds of reasons. So, I mean, that's interesting too, because like then Rachel can't go to the end with Saul, right? Like you can't go to the end with the person who saved you.
No, she can't. And there's all sorts of reasons. So I think that you just have to Saul, let the mystery be.
Yeah.
And maybe I think that for Saul, I think it's almost like a hinky vote of like, now I think he has to like use this as ammo to throw Sam and Sierra under the bus. It must have been them. Who else would save Rachel?
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. But you don't think there's anything to be gained by him saying to Rachel, like, hey, like I want to have a secret alliance with you?
It's possible, but she could also use that as ammo to throw him under the bus of like, hey, everybody, just so you know, Saul got the thing. He told me he saved me. Like, what? Yeah. He lied to all of us?
Right.
And so I
that
think
was a very funny scene too, which we have to acknowledge. Saul's like,
Saul is great. Saul is wonderful television. Great. And so I just think for Saul, like that he missed the moment in which he could have used it to build trust with people. And now he has to take it with him to the final tribal council.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, a great thing to mention. I don't know, though. I feel like if he had said it publicly then, it wasn't like Heidi's thing where I think Heidi had to have, to declare it publicly.
She had to announce whose vote she was taking.
Right. So with in this case.
And also she found it like in a public way. It was like, all right, everybody go look for keys. And she had to like, okay, I'm the person that got the key to unlock the thing.
And in this case, I mean, like, I think if Saul had said that, like they could all come up with a decision together. but Saul would still have this kind of like asterisk by his name where, oh, Saul did that big thing. You know, he's got this resume point that none of the rest of us have, you know, because he happened to be lying next to the urn. I mean, so I think it was right of him to play it secretly.
I think so too. I think that, you know, had he found it out in the open, I think that it could have been a group decision. But he also then was like secretive of like that he went off into the woods, and then Genevieve's like, oh, you didn't share it with me. Teeny's like, you didn't share it with me. Like, Saul, I thought we were friends. And so I think that for him, that he's gone too far down the road. He's got to keep it a secret.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the perception of Rachel is as the god of glue, right? Not that like nobody knows that Sam is the real glue guy.
Well, according to Sam, it turns out that maybe is not as much of a glue guy.
Right. But my guess is Rachel is also not the god of glue, given that her best ally, her best ally was voted out.
Yeah. Maybe there was no glue person.
No glue.
Maybe they had no glue. That was the biggest secret was no glue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's never any glue at all. Go ahead.
Let's start to work in some questions from the audience. I also just want to highlight, of course, Stephen Fishbach stole the show on the I Stand Kagiyan brand new documentary that aired. We premiered it on Tuesday night on YouTube. But Stephen, we had a premiere on Monday night in Philadelphia. We had a screening at the Ritz Theater. And
the Ritz, hobnobbing with the glitterati.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Stephen, I just want to tell you, the biggest reaction from the crowd, the biggest laugh line was what you talking about Tony coming at you for having your feces stained glasses.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments in my Survivor podcasting career.
Yeah. And then there was a great clip that got shared by the All Winners Survivor Instagram account. They always find like such like deep cut things, and they found the clip of Parvati interviewing Tony about his rivalry with you.
How are they finding the part like the CBS still have that online somewhere?
I don't know how they find stuff that's like all the time. They have like stuff of like Survivor Amazon, like DVD extras. It's like incredible. I don't know how. But
at least like a DVD extra is a digital record. I understand. Like the after show that Parvati hosted for 2 seasons or whatever. Like that seems very strange.
I don't understand how they do it, but they do amazing things over there. So they find all these like very deep cut videos. So
it was a very, very funny. It was a very I loved watching it. It was so fun. I mean, it was such a fun retrospective. It was great to see all these different people's perspectives. I love that you had like David Sampson, there with great commentary throughout. Trish, obviously Tasha was, so many like of the players, and then also really fun commentary from the podcasters and other contestants. It was great. It was like a very enjoyable thing. The only thing I was frustrated with was that truly 80% of my commentary that I delivered was about LJ, and only a very small portion of that made it into the. Like there was one tiny LJ segment. I had like one line about LJ, but like 80% of the things I said were about LJ. Like
not enough.
Cutting room floor. Let's see the LJ cut.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we could have some DVD extras. Okay. All right. Let's start to bring in some questions from the listeners. Okay. How about the question from NB703? Do you think that Rachel made the right move not to get Gabe out with block a vote? Tiana was offering her a branch, and now she went home because of Rachel's decision. First off, okay, let me start off with how do you think Rachel was going to vote prior to receiving the advantage?
That's a really good question. I got the sense that she did not believe what Gabe was telling her. So I had the sense that she probably would vote for Gabe. She said she had a long confessional where she said, these things Gabe is saying sound so good, and I want to believe them, but like I don't really know. Whereas vis-a-vis Tiana, it seemed like she really more, and Tiana was more sincere. Gabe was like literally winking at the camera, like during that interchange.
Yeah.
So she correctly read Tiana as more honest in that. So
it is interesting that she could have gotten like if she felt like that the Tiana and Kyle plan was sincere. And maybe Caroline did a good enough job of like talking Tiana off of it. I don't remember that. Did Tiana go to Rachel with the plan, or did she just go to Caroline with the pitch of a plan to bring to Rachel?
Oh, that's a really good question.
The chat will know.
Yeah,
was that offer on the table for
I remember
Rachel?
Talking to Rachel, but that could be a false memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember if she actually laid out the plan with her, because you run the risk of Rachel going back to Gabe and then saying what the plan was going to be.
Right.
Gabe went to Rachel with a plan, which I think was certainly a fake plan to vote out Caroline in that spot. Anne is saying she went to Rachel first.
Yeah.
So I do think that is interesting, riskier for Rachel.
Right. For Rachel.
Yes,
to
riskier.
vote for Gabe?
To use the block of vote and then ultimately count on Tiana and Kyle there.
Yeah, that would be a bad call. That would be a very bad choice, because if she leaves, they have to vote out one of their own. Like, there's no real gain for her in staying around to cast that vote, right? And there's a tremendous. I mean, maybe there's like a
I disagree. I feel like that she went with the safe move, but like the bigger move would be certainly to get Gabe out in that spot.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And to like do the block of it would be a bigger.
But did Gabe do enough to win over Rachel? Did Gabe make Rachel feel like, hey, we're working together?
Yeah. I don't know if you even want the big move in this spot, right? Like, that's what got Emily flipping out, right? She took too much credit, for Bruce's boot, right? And everyone's like, oh, she's playing hard, just vamoose. Like, stick around. You want to have your big move on day 24 or 25. You don't need to have the big move on day 12.
Like, oh yeah, Rachel's a big threat now at the final 12. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Just take leave, be safe. I don't think there's anything that anybody could say to me that would have caused me to stick around in that tribal council being Rachel. Like, regardless of how certain you feel, you just never know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. How about a question from Ellis wants to know, with only one person going home last night, do you think that they will do the inevitable double boot? I don't think it's an inevitable double boot. I think that, Stephen, that based off of when people are saying the finale are, Bryce and Wendell have already announced a finale party on December 18th. That gives us 14 weeks of this Survivor season. I think we're getting an extra episode.
Yeah. Wow. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't it used to be 14 episodes? One of them was the clip show.
Yes, I think that certainly was the case way back when. But I think we're squeezing another episode out.
The clip show, by the way, always a very painful watch. Do you ever, like, when you went and rewatch seasons, would you rewatch the clip show? No.
I think a couple of times I did. I think actually your season, I think Token Sheens, I actually watched the clip show. I think that's actually one of the better ones.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of like unseen footage in the Token Sheens one.
Yeah, like Joe and Spencer playing Jatoba baseball.
I think that they really used to half-ass it on them, like way back when. And then I think that like as they were getting like there was less hype for the clip show, I think they really did try to put a lot more of like never before seen stuff into the clip show.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was just like basically summary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do think Token Sheens maybe the best clip show.
Yes.
You can have that.
The best season.
Yeah. Okay. Next week.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you? Like, I was at the dinner with some friends and I've gotten them into Survivor. And of course, the first season they watched was Token Sheens. And now they're watching, now they're watching like 44 or 45. And they're like, oh my gosh, it was so much harder in your day. You guys had suffered so much more. Wow. This modern Survivor. So I like honestly like was about to ascend to heaven. I was like, I can't say that, because people get mad. But
yes,
if you can
I don't know if the like we don't have anything to eat necessarily comes through comes through the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Okay. Stephen, next week, speaking of food, the auction is going to be back next week.
I hope it's just like pure joyful auction. I just want the pure goofy fun auction.
No, I think we're keeping the Survivor 45 rules for the auction.
Okay. Well, whatever. It's fun. I love the auction.
Did you have an auction in Token Sheens?
Oh yeah, we had a great auction. We had one of like the best.
Oh yeah, we did the Taj. Yeah. Yes.
And Eddie George.
Yes. What did you get for the auction?
I won the auction. I didn't get to see Eddie George, but I didn't even know who he was at then, so it didn't really matter. I got, first of all, I got peanut butter and chocolate, just for myself, and I was.
And did you have to get naked?
No. Well, yes, but no, didn't have to get naked. Then I also got the chicken hearts, which made air, and then I also got this giant plate of like I got a beer and like a chicken. Like I got more food and sustenance than anybody else in that auction. Yeah,
so you did win the auction.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. Stephen, where do we go from here with this group? Well, like, what do you think is the group that comes together next week.
Yeah. I mean, we do seem to be seeing, right? Okay. So the groupings that we kind of see now there's this, we know about this Gabe, Sue, Caroline grouping. Kyle seems to be somewhat outside of that, but yet a part of it. We've got this maybe Andy, Saul, Genevieve situation that probably Teeny's a part of in some capacity. We know that Sam and Sierra are tight and Rachel could be, but you can also see now you can kind of be like, well, is Rachel going to be pulled over into this Saul, Andy, Teeny, Genevieve group? Cause she's got bad blood with Sam and Sierra. I don't know. It's like, I
don't think she has bad blood with Sam and Sierra. I think that Sam and Sierra I think that at this point they might be more aligned with Sam and Sierra than Andy is.
Rachel might be, maybe, but she also after the Blind Side, she went to Andy and was like, I don't really have a place now, and she was like, I got to find some new people. So I think she might be more of a free agent than a Gotta Strong.
So if we're leaning towards some sort of ultimate Sam and Sierra are targets, do we think that next week ends up being a 9? How many people are left? 11 people are left. Are we looking at maybe an 8-3 vote next week?
It could be. It really could be. It does feel like that Sam and Sierra story has been building. There's been a lot of a few episodes of this narrative of Andy, and it does feel like now is I can't imagine it lasting all season long, right? It feels like it's kind of reaching a head. So at some point, someone's getting voted out.
Yes, no doubt about that. Somebody is definitely going to get voted out. But
all in here first.
That does the Andy and Genevieve, I guess that maybe if they want their pound of flesh for putting Andy's name out there, is that what comes on? And then Tuku just piles on? Don't forget about Tuku, everybody. Yeah, they voted out Tiana, but there's still 4 people over there.
I mean, there's also a world where Kyle is the target because, for reasons you suggested. And Rome was throwing his name out very aggressively too. So maybe there's some legacy of that. I don't know. You never know.
Okay. All right. Steven, so next week, you and I are going to be together on Friday next week. So be on the lookout for that. And hopefully they don't call the election in the middle of our Survivor Know-It-Alls on Friday.
Whoa.
Everybody will just turn this off instantly.
What? No, keep on. This is much more uplifting. This is fun. Politics is very stressful.
Very stressful.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we'll be together on Friday next week. Also, I have a very fun thing going on. I'm going to be I'll be actually screening the episode early.
Whoa.
I'll be at UNC Chapel Hill Saturday night for big night on the campus of UNC.
More hobnobbing. I feel like you're doing even more hobnobbing than usual.
Even more. Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Once you've hobnobbed, you just got to keep hobnobbing.
Yep. So that's going to be a very fun event coming up
ABH.
Saturday night.
Always be hobnobbing.
Is it ABHK? Yes.
I don't know if there's a K in hobnob. I always thought of it as, I didn't know it was HOBNOBBI. I don't think there's it's not like a doorknob.
It's that I assume that it would be a K in there.
Because you're opening the door to upper crust society.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a K in the hobnob.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I learned something new today. All right. And then also, we have tickets on sale for our live event coming up in Houston, just over a month away, December 4th. I will be always be hobnobbing. I'll be hobnobbing in Houston, Texas on December 3rd and 4th. Our the patron meetup coming up on the 3rd, and then our live show. A big turnout is expected in Houston, Texas. Tickets are on sale to the public at robswebsite.com/Houston. All right.
Houston is there's a lot of fun, like Texas survivors, I feel like, who might come out for a Houston Know-It-Alls.
The Houston Hobnob. Sam, make that the promo code for the patron tickets. Houston Hobnob. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Chase, we will let you get back on the case here tonight. Steven, what's your favorite Halloween treat?
Halloween treat? Well, obviously the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is the best Halloween treat. That seems like kind of a no-brainer. I mean, maybe people don't consider it like a Halloween.
You're a guy who will pay big money for chocolate and peanut butter.
I $20 I got that for. That was a bargain. $20 for a little bowl of chocolate and peanut butter.
I mean, that's kind of what it costs now.
I know. I was going to say, that's a reasonable price for that.
I mean, you go to the airport, I'll have a couple of peanut butter cups, $20.
Yeah. Exactly. Wait, I need to address something. People in the chat are mad that I'm not giving Saul the Fishy. First of all, I do think Saul played great, and I came into this thinking I was going to give Saul the Fishy. But then, like, Caroline really was, I felt like the strategic mover of the episode. Saul had a lot of great moments, finding the clue, deploying it to Rachel was the correct moment. I thought he did everything correctly.
Saul's got his fishy. Saul's gotten a fishy.
We already give Saul
Caroline deserves the fishy. This is a no-brainer. I would push back.
Question. Yeah. No, I know you would. I appreciate that. Keep me
Caroline, honest. This is a no-brainer fishy for Caroline.
Yeah.
There's no debate.
Okay.
With all due respect to Saul. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Saul got the potato salad. That's he got his reward.
He did get the potato
and he got
salad.
it a great gift that will live forever. Okay. Not since Aubrey have we had so much excitement around potato salad. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.